everyone. Good morning, guys. Let's get
Good,
started in 7
good
minutes.
morning, Meghna.
Uh, 1 minute.
I might not be very participative today, tomorrow, but listening because I have some, eye issue. But I will definitely follow the class.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Hello, Meghna.
Sorry, did someone say something?
Yeah. Hi, Meghna. Harshita here. Good morning.
Yeah, hi. We're just waiting.
Meghna.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to ask you, like, before moving to advanced, can we have one revision class, like a quick refresher kind of a thing?
I can give a quick recap before we start. Yeah.
Recap. Yeah. So today we are moving to advanced?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay, I think we can get started. Let me quickly share my screen. Just to give a quick recap to everybody, we kind of learned a lot of things over here. So obviously we won't be able to go through everything in detail, but just a quick summary. So obviously your basic functions like print, which can take input, I mean, which can basically give output of whatever you want. Then you have variables which can store different values. Then you have your input statement, input function that can take input from users and process it however you want it. You can print it with multiple I mean, you can print anything with multiple customizations with end parameter or sep parameter. You can use f strings also to print it out. Post that you understood about input function, like I was saying, it takes input. But remember, input function always takes every input in string. So if you're taking a number, you can convert it to a float or integer or however you like it, right? If we have to take multiple inputs, what we do, we take the input and we do a split. Once it splits, it basically forms a list of items, right? And here when I write x comma y equals to split, we're basically assigning x the first value and y the second value. And that's how you basically take multiple inputs. So split, what it does is basically splits a sentence or a bigger string into smaller words based on the separator, right? Then we learned about string functions. We learned about arithmetic operations, comparison operations, logical operations like and or, not in general. We learned about assignment operation, which is something we used a lot in our for loop and while loop, etc. We also learned about if else, the basic conditional statement that if a condition is true, that part of the code will get executed, else something else will get executed. Same way, if else, which has multiple conditions. Post that, we learned about loop. Loop is something that will help you repeat any particular task in number of times. So you can specify a range in loop and tell it how many times do you want to repeat it, and it will do the same with the help of range function. Or you can loop through a list, or you can loop through a string, because all of that is sequence, right? So that's for loop. Post, which we learned about while loop. While is also another loop, which is an entry control loop, because while loop runs until and unless a particular condition is true, right? So we learned about while loop. Okay, once we are done with all while loop, for loop, and the basic looping statements, we went to the very important sequence, data collection sequences, which is like list, tuple, set, and dictionary. List, if you remember, is defined by square brackets. It's a collection of items. It can store duplicates, it can store different type of data items together. It is ordered, it is mutable, and it is basically defined by square brackets, right? So in a list, you can access items by, indexes like this. Positive index means left to right, negative index means right to left. You can do slicing also. You can edit the items, you can add item, remove item, modify them, whatever you want, you can do with that. And then we moved towards learning slicing, which we already understand. Post which we learned a very important topic called list comprehension, which is nothing but a way to create a list using just one single line. So we're using one single line using for loop, we create a list where we define the for loop, the conditions, and the expressions, right? That's list comprehension. Then we learned about tuple. Now, tuples are also data collections which are basically defined by round brackets. But the only difference tuple has with list is tuples are immutable, which means you cannot modify, add, or remove elements to it, right? But yeah, of course, it is ordered, so you can access element using square bracket. It is immutable, which means you cannot change, but it can hold duplicates if you want to, right? That's tuple for you. And then we move to the next, which is set, right? So what is set? Set is also very similar collection of elements. The only difference is set contains only unique elements. Only unique elements, which means set cannot contain duplicates. It only contains unique elements and it's unordered, which means you cannot access it with square brackets the way you did it in list and tuple, right? And it's defined by square brackets. So that's set. And inside a set, you can't store another list or dictionary because list, dictionaries, and etc. And they are basically mutable in nature. So if things that are mutable in nature cannot be contained inside a set basically. But of course you can add or remove elements over here. You just cannot modify each one of them one by one. And lastly, we learned about the set operations, and then we learned about dictionary. Dictionary is what we learned the last thing. It's nothing but key value pair, where everything is stored in key colon value pairs, right? So your keys has to be something which is immutable, right? So values can be anything, but keys need to be something which is immutable, which means your list cannot be a key, right? And all the keys needs to be unique in nature, which means there cannot be two keys with the same name, but different values. So you can store them and you can access them using keys. You can access any values using key or using the get method. Um, Then you can add and update items just by assigning new key value pairs. You can remove using pop item, dill, or clear function. And yeah, I think that's about it. That's what we have learned so far. So everybody got a good recap over here. What about others? Can others also quickly respond if you guys are clear or not? Or if you guys have any doubts, any questions. So I guess we didn't solve out these questions, but did you guys solve all the 14 questions? Okay, and what about the others? Did you guys get to solve these questions? Can everybody please comment in the chat box if you guys solved all the questions for dictionary? Just have to give a yes or no, that's it. Unable to solve the 11th question. Rest are done. Okay. Then in that case, let's quickly go through the questions one by one, right? And just discuss the answers quickly without taking much time so that we can move to the next topic. First question is to create a dictionary and store students' details. Okay. So we'll quickly create the dictionary called student and just print it out. So I have stored the name, age, course, and that's it. Next was to access only the student's course. So if I just want to access student's course, I can just use square brackets and give the key course. That will basically tell me what is the course of this particular student. Next was to add a new key value pair called city, and the value will be Delhi. So I will just add student city equals to Delhi. That will add the new key value pair. If you want, you can print your dictionary and see if the key value pair got added or not. Next question was to update the age to 21. So that means I can just write student age is now equals to 21. Okay. Next question was to delete the key city from the dictionary. So I can use pop and it will just delete the key value pair where key is city. Done. That's the fifth question. Okay. Next question, count how many keys are present in the dictionary. So what I can do is I can loop through my dictionary. I can write for key comma value. So I'm just using two variables k and v in student dot items. Student dot items actually lets you access keys and values. So if I just print k comma v, you get to see that you will be able to print everything, the keys and the values. So this is the key. Okay, I will just write it. This is the key and this is the value. See, key, value, key, value. So everything can be accessed using student comma items. The moment you give student comma items, it generates two things. One is the key, other is the value. So you can access it through this. Now, if you anyway want to count how many keys are there in the dictionary, you can just use length function. That will be easier way to count the number of keys. But in this way also you can use a variable and count the number of keys. Both the ways are right answers. Okay. Next question was to create a dictionary from two lists and merge them as key value pairs. Okay. So let's say I have let's say I have two lists. One is the keys and other is the values. I want to merge them as one dictionary. So what I can do is I can use dict function. Inside dict function, I can use another function called zip and give my list, which is keys and values. What it will do is form a dictionary of key value pair which is adjacent to each other, like name Ria, age 22, city Mumbai. Okay, using zip function, you can zip them up into key value pair. Tuple of key value pair. If you just use zip over here, just zip will basically create a zip object, but you can't access it again, like how generators were. So that's why I've used the dict, so that it actually converts it into a dictionary and we can consume it out. Okay. Next question was to check if a key exists in a dictionary. So I can just write, let me name this particular dictionary as person. I can check if age exists in person. So I can write if age in person, print key exists. So it will obviously print key exists. So I'm checking if this particular key is present in person dictionary. Okay. Now what's the next question? Count word frequency in a sentence. Okay. So let's say I have a sentence like this. Okay. Now let me take all the words over here using split. So when I take all the words over here using split, I get all the individual words out in a list. That's what split does, right? We already know split splits a sentence based on the separator. By default, the separator is space. And then what it does is it basically puts it into a list of separate items like this. Now let's say I want to count the number of words and form a dictionary out of it. So I'll first start with an empty dictionary. I'll first start with creating an empty dictionary. Then I'll loop through my words list. So I'll write for I in W and I'll just form my key value pairs. That WC of I, which means I'm just forming the first key value pair in my dictionary of I. I will be the first word, which is Python, is equal to nothing but WC dot get I. And if I don't get I, if I as a key is already not existing, then I'll replace it with 0 and plus 1. That's it. And now if you check the output, if for every word it has counted the number of times it is present in the sentence. So what is it doing? It is looping through each word, and for each word it is checking, like WC Python. That's the first word. So WC Python becomes the key, and it is checking what? WC dot get Python. What does get method does? Get helps us get the value. So when I write WC dot get Python, it tries to see that in the dictionary, is there already a key value present with Python as the key? If it is present, it will get the number out. Like if it is present, it will get the value out. If not, it will put 0. So in our case, because the dictionary is empty, there is nothing. So obviously it couldn't get a particular key like Python. So it will return 0. What is 0 plus 1? 1. So right now my key value pair Python has values 1. Next, it will similarly form the key value for pair for is. Again, is not present, so it will return 0. And what is 0 plus 1? 1. So next, same for fun, same for and the moment it reaches to Python again, so it will again write key value pair Python is equals to WC dot get. Now here we already had 1, so it will not return 0. For the second Python, it will return 1 because the key value pair already was present and I'm trying to access the value associated with that particular key. So it will return 1, and then 1 plus 1 is basically equals to 2, and that's how the key value pair Python 2 gets formed. And that's how it is counting each word's frequency. Is that clear for everyone? Can everybody respond if it's clear or not? Okay, taking it as a yes. Next question. Which line, Harshita? This one.
Yeah, yes, that line. Yeah.
So it's actually, you just have to remember how a dictionary works, right? If person is a dictionary, if I want to, if I use get method, I can get the value of any key value pair. So let's say I want to get what is the value of age. What is the value associated with the key age? So I'll write get age. But in case age as a key value pair is not present, it can return whatever value you want to return, like a default. So I can give 0. So in case the age as a key value pair is not present, it will not throw an error. Instead, it will return 0. So let's say I'm trying to access a key value pair called A. Now A is not present in person, right? There is no key value pair called A. So instead of returning blank or error, you can give comma and whatever value you want, NA, whatever value you want, it will return. If I give 0, it will return 0 because it couldn't find A as a key value pair already in person. So here also the same concept is being utilized. When you're forming a new key value pair, if that word is already not counted, it will return the count as 0 because the value associated with that particular key will not be found and hence it will return 0. And because that's the first time I found that word, I will do a +1. So I know Python is present at least once, so Python's value will be 1. Next time when it goes to Python, it checks, is Python already present as a key and what is the value associated. 1 was associated, so it will return 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, and that's how the values of each word gets updated. Got it? All right. Next one, merge two dictionaries into one. This is easy. Let's say I have two dictionary like this. If I have to merge them into one, what I can use is an update function. So I can just write sales q1 dot update sales q2. So now what will come out in sales q1 is updated Jan, Feb, March, April. The values, I mean the key value pairs present in Q2 will get updated inside Q1 using update function, right? Next question, find, sorry, did someone say something? No. Okay. Find the key with maximum value, basically the highest marks. So let's say there is a dictionary called let's say the dictionary called marks. I want to find which key has the maximum value. So what I'll do, I can just write max of marks. Now if you give max of marks, by default it will work only on the keys and it will alphabetically tell me what is the maximum key over here. But here what I'll give is comma and give a parameter saying that key is equals to marks dot get. Why this? Because I'm specifying to max function that you don't have to find the maximum of this dictionary using keys. You can get me the maximum using the values. And that's why I'm writing key equals to. Key equals to means you are giving a customization that on what will max function work. And then we are giving marks dot get so that it gets the values and based on values it can find what is the maximum key. So Ria has the maximum value based on values. So it is giving me the key which has maximum values. Right? Next is convert a list of tuples into dictionary. All right. So let's say I have a list of tuples like this and I want to convert it to a dictionary. So it's actually simple. You can just use dict of data. Just simple dict of data and it will convert it to a dictionary easily. Okay. Next function. Create a nested dictionary to store multiple students' marks and print one student's marks. Okay. Simple. So let's say I have a nested dictionary like this. So within a dictionary, if you see, I have stored another dictionary. Like the first key is 101 and the value is another dictionary over here. If I have to access any students, let's say marks over here, so I can write students. What is my first key? 101, right? What is anything else that I want to, for 101, let's say I want to find what is their marks in math. So I'll give one more square bracket and mention math. It will give me the maths marks for 101. Right? So basically going through nested dictionaries, that's it. Right? Last question. Create a dictionary of squares for number 1 to 5 using dictionary comprehension. This is simple. Same way you did list comprehension, the same thing. The only change is you will use curly braces instead of square braces because you're creating a dictionary like this. Right? So are the questions clear for everyone now? What about others? The nested dictionary is basically easy. See, if you just look at the dictionary, it looks like this. Okay, here if you try to print what are the keys in this dictionary, you will find there are two keys in the dictionary. What one is 101 and the other one is 102. Okay, now if I want to access what is the value associated with first key, which is 101, it will basically give you this is the value. Okay, this is the entire value associated with the key 101. So 101's value is an entire dictionary. Now, if I want to further access, let's say, any other key value pair inside this dictionary, which is already as a present as a value, I'll just have to use another square bracket. Like let's say I want to access name. So I'll again use one more square bracket after my first key and give the second key, which is name. So it will give me that okay, name is Ria for the first key, which is 101. Inside the value of the first key, if I want to access name, I'll give one more square brackets. That's it. Clear everyone? Okay. Um I'll just give you guys 2-3 minutes to quickly execute whichever whichever question you couldn't execute or was a doubt for you. I'll just give you 2-3 minutes to complete it. Can you guys do that and let me know once you're done? Yeah, you can use any other thing. Pop, pop item, Dell, whichever you want. Let me know once you guys are done. And actually, when once you're done, you can solve these two questions as well. I've sent the questions in the chat box just so that you guys get into the practice of writing codes again. I've given two more questions. You can just solve them, give the answers in the chat box, and let me know once you're done. Okay, what about the rest of you guys? Are you guys done? Okay, great. I think the first question was, wait, I lost the questions. Give me a minute. Yeah. Okay. The first question was to filter out dictionary items where value is greater than where values are basically less than 80. All right. So what I can do is create a dictionary called marks which has different marks, and filtered will be another dictionary which I'm just using dictionary comprehension and going through all the key value pairs. And if my value pair is greater than equals to 80, I'm only keeping those key value pairs. So it will only keep the values which are actually greater than 80, and we are filtering out, which means we are removing any value that is less than 80. That's the first question. Second question is invert a dictionary, keys to values. Basically, it will be value and key, the opposite. Okay, so what I can use is again dictionary comprehension. Instead of K comma V, I'll just write V8 so that it becomes inverted like this. Okay, so we are good with these two questions, everyone? We are good, guys. Can I get a yes, no? Can we proceed? Okay, 2 minutes. Yeah, then it will be a problem and it will only add the latest instance of value. So let's say there are two values with 88. Only the latest value will become the key and the associated key will become the value. The older one will not exist in that case.
Meghna, have a small doubt regarding
Mm-hmm.
list comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, we get this list comprehension, tuple comprehension, and we can apply that concept to all the data types, right? But say, for example, if we have a simple program like reversing a number, then we cannot apply that concept, right?
We have a simple program like, sorry.
Reversing a number.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay.
In that
Uh,
case, I mean, you can, but we'll have to think of a logic for that if it fits in or not. And ultimately, you will have to use a function called join, which joins it together as a number, because this output will always be a list or a dictionary or something like that, right? But when you're reversing a number, it's a number, right? So
yes, yes.
numbers are something you cannot loop it. It's not a sequence of characters, right? String is a sequence of characters, so you can loop through them.
Yes. So in general, it's hard for applying this concept to general questions, right?
Yeah, and it depends on the situation, which question needs what concept. Like reversing a number is much better or easier using while loop.
Okay. And another question, so say for example in list comprehension, if there are multiple lines of code to be executed, we cannot fit
Yeah,
it into a single
yeah,
line, right?
right. Yeah. In that case, we will use a normal for loop. It is only for simple purposes that we use comprehension.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, shall we move ahead, guys?
Meghna, for the last two questions, we have used the list comprehension only, right?
No, this is dictionary comprehension. I'm creating a
Okay,
dictionary.
a dictionary. Yeah, yeah, dictionary comprehension. Okay.
Cool, guys. I think let's move ahead now. So the next topic that we will learn about is functions. As you guys know, functions is like one of the most important part of any coding, right? Whether you learn it in Python or in any other language, functions are pretty important because function, if you just simply see it, it's nothing but a mini program inside your bigger program, right? So ideally, function is nothing but a usable piece of code that is designed in a way that it can perform one specific task for you. Like, for example, the print function. It is a reusable piece of code which is designed in a way that it will perform one single specific task for you. It will always print something. That's how print functions are, right? It just prints something. Whatever you give, it will print it. And if you want, you can give additional customizations and etc. And you can print it your way. So that's what the print function is about, and that's how it works, right? So that means what is function? You define a task inside a function, and you can use the function n number of times in n number of ways to do that task, right? So when we come to the concept of code reusability, functions play a huge role. right? Because instead of writing the same code again and again, you can maybe define it once, give it a name, and reuse with that name whenever whatever you want, right? Like a coffee machine. If you just imagine a coffee machine, you press a button and give your instructions, the machine will basically do its work and give you the coffee, right? So you're just utilizing the same machine and getting the coffee n number of times, and that coffee also is something you can choose, like which type of coffee do you want. That's basically how a function works, right? And how we define function is using the keyword def. Okay, not just for function, even when you define a class you use the keyword def. But once we start with the keyword def, Python knows that you're trying to define something. But when you give a function name, whatever function name of your choice, let's say I give any random function name, this means I am defining a function. Okay, and the name of the function is whatever I have given, and within this you can give any code that you want. Okay, so this code basically defines the function over here. That's the whole idea or syntax of defining a function. Till here, could you guys follow me? Everyone, could you guys follow me till here? Others, can I get a yes or no? Okay, so let's say I define a simple function called greet. Okay, not right now there's no extra things that I'm adding to the function. It's a simple function called greet. And inside the function, if you see, the indentation comes again. Indentation is again something which is present over here, because that indentation helps Python understand which part of the code is belonging to this function definition. Okay, so let's say all I want to print is hello, right? So my function is defined. I have defined a function called greet. What it does is prints hello. So if I have to use the function, I'll have to call the function. Yeah. So whenever I have to use the function, I'll have to call it. And how do you call someone? You have to call someone with their name. So what is my function's name? Greet. Greet and round brackets. That's it. And it will call the function. The moment the function gets called, we basically get the output over here, which is hello. So whatever is happening inside the function, based on that, you will basically get the output right over here. So whenever you want to, let's say, greet the user, instead of writing print hello multiple times, you can use the function greet, and it will basically print the same hello, how many ever times you want. Got that? How a basic function looks like, is that clear? Can I get some more responses? Yes, no. If you guys can respond faster, we will be able to finish up faster. So, can everybody be a little more active and give out if you guys understood or not? Just a simple yes, no. Okay. Okay. Now, one more concept that comes with function is whenever you define a function, every function is designed by default, it is always designed to return something. Okay, so even if you don't specify a specific return statement, it is still returning null. Null means nothing, right? But return statement is basically given inside a function to send a value back. So for example, if I write a function, let's say ABC. Okay, now I'm defining the function, and if I write return function. Okay, so here the moment I call the function ABC, you will see the same output that we were getting out like in the earlier example. So return is a statement that is mandatory in every function. Every function that you define, there is a mandatory return. So in the first scenario where I did not specify return, it basically has a by default statement called return null. Right, so basically it is returning nothing. If you see, it works the same way. So if you don't specifically mention the return statement, it basically returns nothing, but still there is a by default return statement present in every function. Okay, in this case I've directly used the return and I've specified what I want to return. Return in simple terms is used to send a value back. It's like you are sending a value back from the function to the place wherever the function is called. So whenever I'm calling the function, I'm getting the value that is being sent by my function. Okay, and return basically is placed at the end of a function. When you're defining the function, to at the end you place the return statement, because it means you're exiting the function immediately. The moment you write return statement, that means you're done with the function's definition and you're not now exiting that, right? Now there are two things, return and print. You can use return also, you can use print also, but there's a slight difference in it. If you understand, the sole purpose of print statement is to just print anything. Whatever you want, it will print. Whatever you want, it will display. But return is a little different. Return is sending you a value back, which means the value that return is sending you, you can actually store it in a variable, you can actually store it anywhere else, or you can use it anywhere else, and etc. Right? See, a function's main purpose is usually to do some task, rather than just simply printing statements. Usually a function is used to do some task, maybe some calculations and etc, and based on that return a result, right? So return is like giving a physical thing out of that particular function so that you can use it further. Like for example, the value that I returned in ABC, I can store it in a variable and I can actually use that value. Like if I print X, I'll get that value out. X contains the string, this is a sample function, I could print that value out. But if I write over here C equals to greet, and here if I give C, right? Now if you notice C contains the output hello. It's basically the print of hello that is getting used by C. You're getting my point? Is it clear for everyone till here? Okay, I'll explain it once again. Very simple purpose. Every function, every function that you define has a return statement. Okay. If you specifically mention the return statement, it will return whatever you have mentioned and it will return that value back. If you don't mention a return statement, by default, it will return nothing, which is null. Okay. And you can use a print instead and etc. The whole purpose of return statement is to give you a value output. It's like sending you a value back so that you can use it further in any other code, any other work, and etc. Print, when you use print, the sole purpose of print is just for display. If you want to just display something and not use it further, and maybe use it for debugging and etc., that's when you use print, right? So whatever you return, it can be anything. You can return a string, you can return a value, whatever you want, you can return. But print, as you know, it's just showing you an output of any string that you want, right? That's the difference between print and return, right? And also, the moment you write return, your function definition is completed. You can't mention anything after return. But with print, that's not the case. You can give another print or you can give another value, whatever you want. Like here, you can, if you want, you can give another piece of code, whatever you want, right? But the moment you write the moment you write return in a particular function, it exits the function definition immediately because it understands that this is done. The function is now defined. I have to execute the function whenever called and return whatever has been mentioned. That's how it works. Okay. Now, when I write print hello and I'm storing the output when I'm calling the function, I'm basically storing the output in a variable C and I'm putting that C as output. So what is happening over here? Hello is getting printed to the screen. Okay, I have no print statements. Sorry, I have no return statements over here. Okay, so what is happening? Print is basically printing my hello and world to the screen. And the moment I'm calling the function, okay, it basically stores the return value in C, right? So C is actually displaying the value that is stored in C. So it is exactly looking like what return also did. Return also did the same thing. It stored the value that my ABC function returned and gave me the value. But there's a little bit of difference over here. When a Python function is not explicitly using a return statement, okay, like in this case, it is not explicitly using a return statement, it automatically returns a special value which is none, right? By default, it returns none. So when you print hello, you see the text hello that is appearing in your console like this. Now, this is basically a side effect of calling the function. This is actually not returning a value, right? So when greet as a function, when it finishes, because there is no return line, the function secretly is returning null. But obviously, when you store C equals to greet, it stores that invisible none value also in the C. And C is nothing but like it shows the value that it holds, and it right now, because you have printed hello, it's just showing hello over here. But actually, apart from hello and world, it also has none over here, but it's just that the none doesn't get displayed. But by default, it also has a none over here, which doesn't happen in return. In return, it's just whatever you have returned. That's the difference. Is it clear? Now is it clear for everyone? So I can use the function, let's say ABC, and I can write, maybe I can just give an expression instead of a, a string, I can give an expression, let's say 8 plus 7. So whenever I run the function, it will actually give me a value out. And if I now write, let's say x plus 2, it will give me 17. I can work on those values moving forward. Is it clear for everyone? Till here, is it clear? Okay. Next thing that we will learn is that functions can also have input parameters. So it's called parameter. So functions with parameters, which means in a function, you can give inputs, right? Your function is also has the, I mean, your function also has the capability to take inputs, which are called as parameters or arguments. Okay, it's like giving an ingredient to your recipe. Okay, based on your ingredient, your function will basically work. Like in a recipe, if you add salt, it will taste different, and if you add sugar, it is going to taste different. So based on whatever input you give, the function is going to work or give your values differently. Like for example, if I write a function greet underscore name, and let's say actually, so here you can specify your inputs. Whatever inputs you want, you can specify it by just separating them. So let's say I just have one input for now, which is name. So you directly give the variable that you want to take input. So name is an input that I'm giving to this function called greet user. Now I can quickly return over here, hello plus name. So I'm just doing a string concatenation. Now whenever I call this function, if I just call this function just like this, without anything, just a normal function call, it will throw me an error saying it requires an argument. You said that you have an input. You have not mentioned the input while calling the function. That doesn't work. I have to mention it. So let's say I give the input, which is user. For me, my input I can see is a string. Only when it is a string, it can do a string concatenation, right? So I'm giving a string input while calling the function, and based on that, it gives me the output. Now here the reusability comes in. So here if I want, you can mention anything that you want, and it will basically work based on the input that you give, right? So you can pass different names and function will basically adapt based on that and give you the output likewise, right? The only thing is that when you define the function, you're defining it saying that this is the input to my function. So in this part, it is called as parameter. And when you're calling the function, you know that the function is expecting an input over here. So you pass an input, and that's called as an argument. Is it clear till here, everyone? Can I get a yes or no if you guys are clear or not? So in very basic bookish definition, function is nothing but a block of code which is organized, it is reusable, which is designed to perform a single action, right? So something that allows your larger because we use function when we have a large code and we want to break it down into small manageable pieces. Like let's say I have a large code, I have to do a lot of things in that code. I will divide it into small function definitions, and each function definition will do a small part of my bigger code, right? So it's easier to read, use, and debug basically, right? Now in very simple terms, you define the function, you call the function so that it understands, okay, this is the function, I just have to run it with whatever input you want. right? The only thing you need to remember is parameters are basically the variables listed inside the brackets while you define the function. An argument is the actual value that is passed to the function when you call it, right? And your return statement is basically how a function sends a result back to you, because you called the function, so it will send the result back to you, right? And that's how it works. So let's say I have a function called as multiply. So let's say I'm taking two inputs, a comma b. Okay. Now here I can just return a multiplied by b. So whenever I'm using this function, I can give whatever value I want. It will calculate the output based on that. Okay. So the result is being sent back to the function call, and here I'm getting the output likewise. Is it clear till here, everyone? And if you're using these values inside the function, remember the order matters. So if you write a comma b, the first value will always be the first value you enter here. So a will never be 7. A will always be 99999, because that's the first value you entered. So this will be a, the second one will be b. The order matters. Okay. So the advantage of using a function is the fact that you don't repeat yourself. If you need to perform the same action multiple times, you write the logic once in a function and you call it whenever needed, right? And function will basically help you break the complex task into smaller pieces, right? So you basically make it easier for you to work on it. That's how a function works, right? Clear till here? And one more thing that you can do is when you call the function, you can specify that, let's say you want to specify b first, you can specify b is equals to 5 and a is equals to 6. This is also something you can do. If you don't remember what is the order in the function definition, you can specifically mention as like this as well. Right? Next up is default arguments. Default argument means you can assign a default value to one of the parameters or whatever parameters you want in the function. And if while calling the function you don't mention any value for that particular parameter, it still runs. Like for example, if I write def greet and I give a name and I give a message. Let's say this is my usual function definition. What it returns is basically hello plus name plus, let's say, the message. This is how it usually works. So when you go ahead and give your values in this particular function while calling it, let's say name is John and messages, let's say, welcome to the program. Okay. So when you normally basically give your message over here, my bad, I shouldn't have given the single quotes over here. It will basically print hello and the message. But the problem comes in when you just mention one of the parameters and you don't know what is the message. Let's say you don't know what is the message, or you don't have a specific message, you just know the user's name is, let's say, Henry. In this case, it will throw an error saying that I expect you to pass two arguments, you're just passing one. So in this cases, when you don't know that, in some cases, what will be the value of one of the arguments, you can mention it as a default argument, and you can just mention message equals to welcome. So if nothing is given to this particular function, like in this case, you are not specifying the message, you're just specifying the name, it will work with the default value, which is welcome, and give you the output instead of throwing you an error. That's how default arguments work. Is it clear till here, everyone? And also, all the default arguments are basically mentioned at the end. Like you cannot write message equals to welcome and then you give your normal parameter over here. All the default ones should be the last ones that you define, basically. Always remember that. Okay, is it clear till here? If you guys are clear, can everybody give a yes or no quickly? Okay. Okay, cool. Can you guys quickly execute till here? Let me know once you're done. Hey guys, are you guys done? What about others? All right, so I just have few questions that I want you guys to solve, and we will be done for today. This is just few easy practice questions based on functions that we just learned. I'll send the questions here in the chat box. So I can give you guys 12 minutes to solve these, and then we'll discuss the answers. Okay. Can you specify what should be done with the argument inside show double? You just have to double the number. Pretty simple. Like just double it. 2 into. So you can just complete with whatever understanding you have, and then I'll just show you the answer based on that. Okay? Just let me know once you guys are done. Okay, let's go through the answers in that case. See, the first question. One second. Yeah. The first question is a basic question called say hello. And I just have to call the function 2 times. So these are just basic questions to get you started. Okay. So I've just defined and I'm calling it twice. Next question is to take a person's name as parameter and print welcome. No, so you don't have to print it twice, Harshita. I meant you have to call the function 2 times. So it's written call it 2 times. That's why I have called it 2 times, just to see how many times we call. That's the time, and that's the number of time we can use the function, right? So next function I've just defined with a name parameter, and I'm just taking the name and printing it again and again using different arguments. Next question was to return the square of a number by defining a function. So I've just defined the function, returned a square, and using the results likewise. Okay. Next question was to take two parameters input and return their sum, like a plus b. Simple. Okay. Next question told you that you have to define a function called double, which doubles a number. Okay. First part of the question. It is doubling the numbers, taking a number and doubling it and returning the doubled number. Another function called show double, it is nothing but something which is calling the previous function and prints it. Simple. So the second function is just going to print the double by calling the first function. So I'm calling the first function inside the second function. That's it. And now whenever I call show double with, let's say, 6 as a number, it is basically going to print double is, and then it will call double of 6. So ultimately it will call this function, print, calculate the double, and just for printing I'm using this function. And that's the answer, right? Last question, write a function called power base exponent 2 that returns base raised to the power of exponent. So it's like a to the power of b. So just basic asterisk parameter. So here if I give power of 5, I will get power of 5 to the power 2 because default is 2, so it's 25. But if I want, I can also specify my exponent, like let's say 5 to the power 3, like 125. Is it clear till here, everyone? Any doubts, any questions, anybody? Okay. So are we good for today if there is no other question, no other doubt?
Mingna, for practice purposes, just wanted your guidance. Like, instead of watching the recording again, we can just go through the code what you have shared, and we can practice the same thing, right? Without like not seeing the codes, but just getting some idea and then practicing by own.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, I have some notes also. So notes and yeah, I see your code once, and then I try to practice it, taking other examples. So that is a good way, right?
That's
To
yeah,
practice.
yeah, that can be done.
Okay, thank you.
All right then, guys. I'll see you guys in the next class, which is tomorrow. And I'll just send the notebook. Give me a minute. Okay, that stopped saving. Okay, unfortunately, it has stopped saving the uh, notebook. See, autosave failed. So you guys have to go through the recording to see the questions and the notes of this particular class. From the next class, I have to use a new notebook because this one will not save it anymore. Okay.